Bandicoot Retrospective. Press start to begin.
The year is 2005, and Crash Tag Team Racing was just released on the GameCube, PS2, Xbox, and PSP. This time, Vivendi Universal Games put the task on Radical Entertainment on the task to create the new Crash racing game. A lot of the staff from Crash Twinsanity would return for this game. For example, John Rychek, the lead writer of Twinsanity, would return as lead writer of this game, basing his story off of a Scooby-Doo mystery that would take place in Disneyland. Spiral Mouth also returns to create the soundtrack for this game, and even Red Eye Studios has returned to create the pre-rendered cutscenes like they did for both Crash Nitro Kart and Crash Twinsanity. Will Crash Tag Team Racing having the great staff from Crash Twinsanity be as good as Crash Team Racing and Crash Nitro Kart? Or will the racing titles progressively get worse? Let's find out. Our story begins with a cyborg named Ebenezer Von Clutch. Von Clutch is the owner of a dangerous racing-themed amusement park called Motor World, but there is a huge problem. Someone stole all of the power gems around the park and, even worse, steals the Black Heart power gem out of Von Clutch's chest. Without that power gem, he will die. Von Clutch, to get his gems back, holds a competition at Motor World. Whoever can find all of the gems and get him his heart back will gain ownership of Motor World. Being the rundown shitty amusement park it is, no one enters other than a racer named Pasadena Opossum. Lucky for Von Clutch, Crash, Coco, Crunch, Cortex, Engine, and Nina crash into Motor World. After being told about the competition, Cortex decides to enter so that he can use Motor World as a new evil lair. Hearing this, Crash, Coco, and Crunch decide to join the competition to stop Cortex from doing so. With the 6 of them competing alongside Pasadena Opossum, Von Clutch, and Willy Wumpa Cheeks, the race is on. After recovering some of the gems, everyone starts getting suspicious as to who could have stolen the gems in the first place. Coco noticed that the perpetrator has been leaving a trail of Wumpa Whip everywhere. This makes everyone suspicious of Crash because he drinks Wumpa Whip. Getting frustrated at how stupid everyone is, Willy Wumpa Cheeks outs himself that he was the one trying to kill Von Clutch, and then runs to Astroland to try and get away. When everyone finds Willy Wumpa Cheeks in Astroland, he is trying to get away on a rocket. Crash pulls a single lever, stopping the rocket from going anywhere. When they go to apprehend Willy Wumpa Cheeks, Cortex, Engine, and Nina appear in a ship, shoot Willy to smithereens, and go to shoot at the Bandicoots, ensuring their win. Crash ends up throwing a chicken into their engine, destroying their aircraft once and for all. Back at the park, they tell everyone that they've recovered all of the power gems, giving the Bandicoots ownership of the park. Coco goes to give the ownership back to Von Clutch when they all realize that Von Clutch has already left this mortal coil, since his heart gem was never recovered. As everyone mourns the loss, Crash is sucking Wumpa Whip out of the dismembered nose of Willy Wumpa Cheeks, which is a sentence I never really expected to ever say in my entire life. A solid object gets lodged in his throat, and Crash chokes on it and spits it out. It happens to be the heart gem, and it flies right into Von Clutch's chest. Von Clutch gets resurrected, giving everyone free passes for life. As they all celebrate, Crash murders Von Clutch and drives away for everyone else to deal with it. Crash fucking murdered him, man. This game definitely could have benefited from more story. There is a grand total of 4 story cutscenes in this entire game. The intro that introduces the problem from Tell, Don't Show, one where we get Crash and Cortex's reasoning for going on this quest, the answer to the mystery that we were apparently trying to establish, and then the ending. It makes the game's story feel like an afterthought. It would have been better if they developed this mystery over time, maybe in a cutscene between each world of the game before revealing it right before the final world. The best part of a mystery, including a Scooby-Doo mystery, is to plant clues within the story beats so that the viewer can guess along with the protagonist what could be going on. They kind of forgot to set up or foreshadow anything and just went straight to the answer. Not only that, but once we get to the answer of Willy Wumpa Cheeks, we get no explanation as to why. We're just left to assume that Willy just wanted to murder Von Clutch and close down Motor World because he's an asshole. Also, on a side note, there are a bunch of side cutscenes called gags and dioramas that you can watch. These pertain nothing to the story and are really only there to be funny, I guess. All this does, along with the ending of the game, is show that Crash is such a jerk in this game. He murders countless animals and just downright tortures the park drones. Haven't they suffered enough? Apparently Von Clutch doesn't treat them very well. It's just weird to see Crash act so maliciously. I liked him better when he was just a brain-dead freak of nature like in Twinsanity. With all of that in mind, Crash Tag Team Racing Story gets my rating of a C-. There are two sides to Crash Tag Team Racing's gameplay, the platforming side and the racing side. The first section I'll talk about is the section that the game seemed to care about the least, the racing. I'm not kidding, out of all of the things to feel like it was not the focus in Crash Tag Team Racing, it's the racing. Within each of the 5 areas, there are 3 racing tracks. Within each race, there are 5 challenges. First, there are the races, which are self-explanatory. Get first place in the race. So let me explain how the racing mechanics in the game work, because it is completely different to Crash Team Racing or Crash Nitro Kart. So there's the usual stuff you'd expect. You steer your car through the track, collect items that you can then throw to your enemies. The new mechanic that makes this game unique and absolutely breaks the game is the clashing mechanic. When you press triangle and then hit another racer, your kart will combine with theirs, having that racer drive and you will be able to shoot the other racers. Shoot racers enough and you can destroy their karts, severely slowing them down. Why I say this breaks the game is because literally all you have to do to get first place in every race is to immediately clash with another racer, absolutely demolish everyone on the track, and then just win. The only time you will not win this way is if your partner betrays you at the last second and ejects you, but 9 out of 10 times that won't happen. The next event is Crashinator, where you must go through a lap of the course hitting into as much of the designated objects as you possibly can. For most of the game, these courses are insanely easy to beat, but once you hit Astroland, the difficulty spikes up to 1,000, and they become the bane of your existence. Unless you're playing as Engine in his Tier 3 car, you are not beating these. Next is Rolling Thunder, where you have to destroy as many of the enemy's karts as you can in one lap. These missions are a cakewalk. There was not a single time where I had to retry these missions to get a gold. As long as you just keep shooting your gun with reckless abandon, you'll win. Next is Run and Gun, where you must shoot as many airborne targets as you can within a single lap. Just like with Crashinator, these are really easy for most of the game until you hit Astroland and it suddenly becomes near impossible to get golds in. Last and certainly least, the Fast Lap Challenge. This is essentially the relic levels of this game, except this time, there's no stopping the timer. Finish 1 lap of the course as quickly as you possibly can. Now this challenge is the worst one, because your ability to get a gold medal is not dependent on your skill that much at all. If you want my advice, do not attempt these until you unlock all of the Tier 3 cars. The reason I say this is not because the Tier 3 cars are the best cars. In fact, I'd suggest you use Crash's Tier 2 car for these challenges. No, I say that you should unlock all the Tier 3 cars because that'll unlock the insane speed setting in the menus. They do not balance the times depending on your speed setting. This setting will literally determine if you are able to get gold or not. Literally, there was one point where I was having a whole load of trouble with a fast lap, and the only thing I had to do to beat it was to pick the faster speed option. The difference between victory and failure should not be a menu option. The reason you want to get gold in all of these events is to get as much Wumpa Fruit as you can and, more importantly, obtain the power crystals. That brings me to the other half of this game, the overworlds. Every hub world in this game is a fully explorable world for Crash to explore. Not only do you enter the races here, you can play mini-games which can include battle arenas, skate parks for your cars, shooting galleries, and bowling alleys. Not only that, but there are park drones around that you can buy power crystals from or even alternate costumes for all of the characters. These hub worlds are also used for the side quests in this game. In the Midway, which is essentially the hub world for the hub worlds, every character is there waiting to give you a side quest. Usually it's either one of two things: find an item and bring it to them, or pay them in either Wumpa Fruit or crystals. Doing these side quests will unlock the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cars in the game that I mentioned earlier. When you collect enough power crystals, you can activate the jump pads within each world in order to get the next power gems to gain access to the next part of the amusement park. Everything about this world is just so middle of the road, and you're just doing things. I know I said the same thing about Crash Purple, and I am definitely not saying this game is as bad as Crash Purple. It's just boring. It's also just strange because it really feels like they didn't want to make a racing game. For a game called Crash Tag Team Racing, I sure did a lot more shooting and platforming than I did racing. Also, there's no payoff. Let's think about the other racing titles. Crash Team Racing. You get all the trophies, you race Oxide. Crash Nitro Kart. You get all the trophies, you race Velo. In most games, you go through the levels, and then do a final challenge. This game, you do all the races, get all of the gems, you pull a lever, and that's the game. This game has no final level, no final boss, no nothing. It just ends. It feels so anticlimactic. It honestly feels like a game that has had half of its content cut out of the game, but as far as I know, it's not at all. With all of that in mind, Crash Tag Team Racing's gameplay gets my rating of a C+. The visual style of this game looks pretty good. All of the characters look like slightly more polished versions of their Twinsanity looks, and all of the new characters have great character designs, except Willy Wumpa Cheeks, I hate him. Maybe that was the point. All of the cutscenes are animated beautifully too, even the in-engine ones. The course design is pretty coherent too. Having the amusement park Disneyland-esque theme allows for a great variety of places. We get fairy tales, volcanoes, Egypt, space, but what's cool about it is that it's all tied together with in-game toothpicks and glue sticks and rope. They keep the aesthetic of a cheaply made, dangerous amusement park to really keep the theming of the game consistent. As for the music, why did they do this? Spiromouth returns from Crash Twinsanity to do the soundtrack again for this game. This time, however, they put music and instruments on top of Spiromouth. Putting the instruments there, to me, kinda defeats the purpose of getting Spiromouth for your soundtrack. Part of what made the Twinsanity soundtrack so unique and cool was that it was entirely a cappella and matched the goofy vibe they were going for. This time, it feels like they were scared to experiment with an entirely a cappella soundtrack again, so they just threw music on top of the good shit. The voice cast is pretty good too this time around. Everyone in the game has been recast except for Lex Lang as Cortex and Debbie Derryberry as Coco. We got voice acting greats like Jess Harnell as Crash and even Nolan North as Engine. They all do a pretty good job, all things considered. Even Danny Mann as Ebenezer Von Clutch was pretty good, even if the only joke Von Clutch has is that he's German. Though I wish some of the voice lines during the races were better. The amount of times I've heard Cortex and Engine say that they've pissed themselves, if they both pee this much, I think they should go take a trip to the doctor and get the whole wiggly figgly in the anus hole. Anyway. With all of that in mind, Crash Tag Team Racing's presentation gets my rating of a B-. Thankfully, completing Crash Tag Team Racing has a cut and dry in-game list of things to do. First, you must unlock all 5 track secrets. These are interactables that you can find in the overworld that will open up shortcuts within one of the race courses. Next, you must get all 34 dioramas in the game. Dioramas are cutscenes that can be activated by doing certain tasks in the overworld that will result in a gruesome death for Crash. You must then complete all 74 missions in the game. I believe these include all of the races, all of the stuff you can buy from the park drones, and any side quests any of the other characters may give you. You must also race on all 15 tracks, play in all 4 arenas, and play all 8 minigames throughout the game. These are the aforementioned race courses, battle arenas, skate parks, shooting galleries, and bowling alleys. You must unlock all 24 vehicles in the game, which again, are done by beating the side quests given to you by the other characters. You must then unlock all 16 costumes, which can be bought from the park drones all around the map. You must complete all 5 chicken challenges. Somewhere in each world, except for the midway, there is a chicken that you must talk to. Talking to the chicken will activate the chicken challenge, where you must collect every single chicken around the map in an allotted amount of time, and there are hundreds. Your time limit increases every time you collect a chicken, so at least there's that leeway. This is actually a really good way to familiarize yourself with every overworld in the game. Finally, you must collect all 142 power crystals in the game. To do this, you must get the gold medal in every race, Crashinator, Rolling Thunder, Run and Gun, Fast Lap, Battle Arena, Skate Park, Shooting Gallery, and Bowling Alley in the game. Getting the golds in every challenge is absolutely necessary for a completionist. You must also buy all of the power crystals from the park drones scattered around the park. There are also power crystals just scattered all over the map, usually after particularly tough platforming challenges. And finally, there is one last way to get the power crystals, and it is the most cryptic. You must go back into the race courses you opened shortcuts for, take those shortcuts while grabbing the item box, and that will get you your last 5 power crystals. Literally nothing in the game tells you this, and the only reason I knew is because I looked it up. In fact, I looked up a lot of stuff for this game, because it feels like a lot of stuff that is required for 100% is stuff that you would just find on complete accident. So what do you get for collecting all this stuff, spending countless hours finishing up your laundry list of random tasks? You get nothing. You don't get a new character, a new car, hell, you don't even get Wumpa Fruit or more power crystals. You get absolutely nothing. They couldn't even give you the courtesy of giving you a useless reward. So would I recommend completing this game? Absolutely not. The completion process is a complete waste of time with no benefits. How do they keep doing it, man? Crash Team Racing is one of the greatest kart racers of all time, and every kart racer in the Crash series since then have progressively gotten worse and worse. How is it that the thing I do the least in Crash Tag Team Racing is the racing? It boggles my mind. With a story that is barely there, gameplay that is broken and has a difficulty spike like you wouldn't believe, a presentation that looks great visually but misses the mark audibly, and an extensive completion process that gives you nothing in return, Crash Tag Team Racing is just so nothing. It is a nothing game. I know it seems that I've been saying that a lot, but some of these games are not good enough to be that fun, but also not bad enough to be bad. They're just there. With all of that in mind, Crash Tag Team Racing gets my overall rating of a C. Just enough to be called okay. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video, and if you like the Crash Retrospective, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next episode. We also have merch in the description below where you can get our shirts, mugs, and stickers to enrich your gameplay experience. I'd like to give a special shout out to Andrew's Retro Games for being the most well-esteemed guest of them all. You could also become a channel member to get all of these videos when I'm finished editing them, as opposed to when they're scheduled to come out. Next week, we'll be looking at the next Crash game in the lineup, Crash Boom Bang. With that, I'm Bottles, and I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.